Hello,
Hey,
and
hey.
welcome to Hold Up, a Movie Podcast, where last time we reported on films about puff pieces, ambulance chasers, and exposés. Tonight we turn our attention to the naked canvas of television. We tune into networks large and small, surfing the boob tube and clicking through the channels. We've got satellite views as well as hard hitting news. It's gonna be a good night. Wish us good luck. Tonight's theme is television. How's it going, Murphy? I am your host,
Good,
Davan
good.
Skelhorn, and with me, as always, Chris Worldmind Murphy.
How's it now, fella? I am very excited to talk about these movies because the first movie we're talking about is one of my all-time favorites, and it's a movie I watch every year, seemingly around my birthday, which is tomorrow, which makes today's episode a Birthday Boys episode because yesterday my lovely co-host here was his birthday. And he was drunk
The
as a
day before,
skunk on
actually, but
X rated.
it was basically yesterday because yesterday is when I got drunk on my other podcast. My God, I asked a
um,
question to the ex goons. At which point did the whiskey start hosting the show instead of me?
so tomorrow's my
There was a
birthday.
point. There's a point when that definitely transition definitely happens.
The whiskey took over.
Oh, it snuck up on me, man. I was like, I've been sick for days, and I'm getting older, and my I've noticed my tolerance isn't what it used to be, just from
You
age,
can't
and then
you
being
can't
sick.
do it as much anymore.
Oh no, man! Like Andre was going drink for drink with me, and he was fine. Anyway,
Well, he's
I
a
didn't
to
remember
be fair,
anything.
he's a
I woke up
much
the
bigger
next
boy
day.
than you.
It's true, but I had a legendary tolerance and stomach at one point in my life. But
Oh, I know. I've been there, sir. We've had many a
yeah,
kitchen parties, you and I.
true. That's true. We have
But yeah, I
before
got I
Murphy
got
left the
myself a
homeland.
hazy. Got myself a hazy for the birthday. So,
Oh, I'm drinking tea tonight.
oh, fair enough. That's fair.
I got the
I'm
culprit right
playing.
here, but
Maybe a little
we'll see
cat,
what happens.
little hair of the dog that bit you. Maybe.
We might. God, I shouldn't, but we
Uh,
might. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
truth.
Tonight we're talking about television, and I'm perfectly sober. So it's not my birthday anymore. But happy birthday to you, buddy. And look
Thanks,
forward
buddy.
to
Thank
seeing
you.
you
Happy
here in the
birthday to you.
next week or two or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll actually be there this weekend. I'll be
Oh, nice.
flying in Saturday. I should be there by the afternoon, give or take, and I'll be in town until Tuesday, the 28th, I believe. Yeah. So I'll be around on the weekend. We can either chill Saturday or Sunday night. Um,
Cool. We're
yeah,
gonna
hopefully
we're
before
gonna
I
have
hear there's a
dinner
storm
with
coming.
Andre.
So yeah, let's do it. Dinner with
All
Andre.
right. Yes, this is season one, episode 11 of, of our lovely podcast here. And yes, we're talking about television. Uh, I'm looking forward to this episode for entirely different reasons than Murphy. I'll tell you that right now. I'm going to save it. But
That's fair.
there were two good movies here. Um,
You know what? You're right. There were two good movies here. There were
I
two
had a
good
feeling
movies
you'd say
here.
that. I had a feeling we might have a disagreement there.
You know what? This is how I feel about this. We picked basically the same movie to a degree, except mine was the Lego version and yours was the Mega Bloks version.
No, the other way
Okay.
around. Mine had
I knew you
actors.
would say
Yours had
that
Weird
too.
Al.
I knew you say that too. No,
Well,
sir.
it's true.
Weird Al came before this, and I'm telling you that I've watched that
Sure, it
movie
came out
yearly.
before, but then actors took a similar idea and writers and made a movie. Um,
No,
let's
there's so many more quotable and enjoyable lines than UHF. There was one
none.
joke in all of fucking Stay Tuned that actually made me laugh. One joke. So,
Well, I mean, it's
we'll
not.
get into that.
We'll get into that. It's not trying to be a straight up comedy like UHF though. Stay tuned has like actiony elements. It has dramatic elements. It's just trying to be like a fun.
It, it was too many
Anyway,
cooks in the kitchen. It was every popular idea at once that was going on in 1991 and they're like, "Well, we can
pretty
make a movie out
much.
of this."
It was the
You know.
Zeitgeist movie, that's for sure.
It was. It
Um,
was. It was very jam full of barely any direction. and we'll get to that. But right now, we
Anyway,
got Theater One to talk
Theater
about, don't
One,
we?
we have UHF from 1989, starring Weird Al Yankovic, if you can call it starring, Michael Richards, Victoria Jackson, and Fran Drescher, who, see, I like Fran Drescher, and of course I love Kramer from Seinfeld, but, you know, they didn't give Fran Drescher a lot to do. Gave Michael Richards a lot to do, but anyway, we'll talk about that.
And I believe it's directed by Dan Levy.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, Jay Levy.
Jay Levy. Jay Levy. Sorry. I watched this
Jay
movie a million
Levy.
times. I should know that, but I
You were
it's
thinking of
probably
Schitt's Creek because Eugene
I
Levy's in our
was.
second movie.
I was a little bit, yeah.
Another
Yeah, let's
reason it's
crack it
better
open.
than UHF. Another great actor, friggin' comedic
That,
actor.
we'll get into that. Let's get into
All right.
UHF. Here's the trailer.
All right.
Let's
Coming
get
all
one
the
thing
way from
straight.
the moon of
Guns
Orion.
don't kill people. I do.
Channel 62 has the lowest ratings in the history
It's
of
not a
television.
quote from this
What they
movie,
need
though,
is a new
Murphy.
station
That was
manager.
already in the world
Forget
before
it,
this
no
movie.
way.
A man of action.
Oh, I don't like
man
Weird
of
Al,
courage.
and this didn't convince me otherwise.
A man of vision.
What's
He's
wrong
not
with you?
funny. He's like somebody who's trying to be
Greatest
funny and
shit
therefore
ever.
isn't.
What they
funny.
get is a man so desperate he'll put anyone on
Kid
the
just
air.
spitting in
Hey,
his
Stanley.
Yeah, George.
See,
How'd
that
you
was
like
the
your
one
own
part
TV
that
show?
gave me a chuckle when the kids. did it.
Okay. You get the drink from the fire hose. Okay, ready? Open wide.
He's Conan, the librarian.
Today we're teaching poodles how to fly.
We beat out the networks.
George Newman. He starts where the others stop.
We're the #1 station in town.
Orion Pictures presents Weird Al Yankovic in UHF.
Oh yeah, I didn't need the Weird Al music video in the middle of the movie either, because I
I
don't
didn't
like Weird
need a
Al's
salt
music.
and pepper music video in the middle of Stay Tuned either, but
That
that's
scene
the
is
trade-off that
hilarious.
we got.
And Salt and
I
Pepper
will admit
are
it was
better musicians
somewhat
than Weird Al
funnier.
Yankovic. See, again,
Ah,
same point.
no.
My movie had actors and real musicians. Yours had Weird Al.
Are you trying to tell me Weird Al isn't a real musician?
No, he's a musician. He's not an actor.
He's
And
a
he's not
great
a
actor.
he's not like
been in many
a
films.
virtuoso musician. He's sort of like a gag musician. He's not a high level musician. Let's put it that way.
I would disagree with that. He's actually a fantastic musician. He puts on a wonderful live show, and he has
Could be.
many original
I've never seen him live.
songs. Oh, okay. Well, then that's what you're missing. I've seen him live. In fact, he was the very first live musician I've ever seen.
Oh, so you have tons of bias here.
I have tons of nostalgia and bias towards Weird Al Yankovic, as
Okay.
anyone of my age
Now it all makes
should,
sense to
because
me.
he
No.
was the man that created the Jurassic Park song, and there's so much like wonderful comedic genius in what he does. He is such a brilliant
it's
man
not, it's just
that he
low-hanging
created
fruit.
a genre of music, an entire genre of music.
There were
Probably
gag
one of the
songs
last
and
musicians to
fake
do
covers
that.
before Weird Al.
But
He's the
Weird
first
Al
person
is
to
the
make a
one
career off
known
it.
for do it. And
Yeah, because he made a career
He's
off it.
made that genre.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like again, it's not a genre I enjoy. I like music,
that's
not
fair.
gag music. It's like it just feels like a downgrade. Like I could listen to top flight musicians, and my musical tastes aren't particularly popular. It's like classical music and jazz, and the high level musicians is kind of what I listen to. So when I hear something like Weird Al, it's just like it kind of just gets to me a little. I'd rather hear like a great singer in like a great original song. Anyway, that's why his music never really worked for me. And this is just like the same thing. Like a thing about Weird Al is it's just low hanging fruit. Like if anyone were to try to rewrite the words to Gangsta's Paradise, they would have came up with the exact same lyrics he did, because it's all just obvious and low-hanging fruit. And I think that's why people enjoy it. Like they expect that from him. And like so it's like approachable in that way.
Okay, if it's
But
such low-hanging fruit, then you, sir, come back to me next week with a 1-minute parody song.
okay, I could do it in 10 minutes.
That's fantastic.
I'm not going to do it right now in the middle of a podcast while we're trying to talk about a movie.
I
but
know. That's why I said come back to me with it next week, or
Yeah.
next episode.
We can do
We
that.
can open the show with it if you want.
All right. We have
Anyway,
guests next time.
let's get into this a little bit. So the movie opens with our character George Newman, played by Weird Al Yankovic. He's a daydreamer and a daydreamer at that. This movie opens up with such an interesting and obvious homage to Weird Al Yankovic, but
To Indiana Jones, you mean?
Indiana Jones. I mean, homage to Indiana Jones in a Weird Al Yankovic sort of way. You know, he's got the character that like tries to hit him with the gun and he whips his arm off completely. He goes through a series of signs and tunnels to get to an Oscar-like statue, which, fun fact, they obviously couldn't get the actual rights to use the Oscar, so they made one that just kind of covers its groin as opposed to holding a sword or anything like that.
I didn't notice that. That's actually kind of funny.
He does the whole weighing of the sand bit here where he's like, gonna balance out and he just says, fuck it, and throws it. And it's just like another, like, the beauty of this movie is, especially if you've never seen it, is the subversion of jokes, right? It's a lot of
I thought that was
left-field
obvious
jokes.
too.
I mean,
this
you
scene,
think
I
a lot of
didn't
things
like
are
this
obvious
scene.
in a lot of shows. But yeah,
Well,
the boulder
You
chasing
see
him
enough
is
content. It's like,
the boulder
things get
chasing
less
him across
surprising.
the country through like
Yeah,
the still
like-
backgrounds. We go through Canada. It looks like a street downtown Detroit or something, only to get paved over and turned into a beefsteak. And that's when we get met with the real George Newman, who's clearly fuzzed out daydreaming and cooking beef on his job of flipping burgers at Edna's Big Burger World. And he has his roommate and best friend Bob, who's played by David Bow, just sort of shocking him and waking him up into the world. And being like, if you don't do your job, we're not gonna be around here long. Where George Newman berates Bob and he's like, am I supposed to be afraid of big old Edna? Which she's behind him and chucks them out on their ass. Leading us to
here's
one of my
another. Okay,
favorite
I got to
things.
cut you off here.
Okay.
The problem with this movie is every character in it is so goddamn annoying. Like it's actually grating to listen to this movie. Like the character who they're about to show, I think Getty Watanabe's character, is just
Yes.
an absurd, annoying stereotype. It's absurd, and it's incredibly annoying. Weird Al's character is annoying. Michael Richards is doing like this half Jerry Lewis when Jerry Lewis would pretend to be like handicapped and like make fun of like mentally challenged people, and like he's basically just doing that. So like I found Michael Richards' whole performance quite offensive, quite frankly, and not funny, because Jerry Lewis is also not funny. Like I found
there
there were
this
just
movie is like a spoof character that was made in the late '80s, right? Like these are very at the time.
His performance isn't like an obvious critique or spoof of Jerry Lewis. He's just trying to do a Jerry Lewis like performance.
Yeah,
like with
for
the
the
big
most
teeth and
part,
everything.
yeah.
Jerry used to put those in too. Like I just saw, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh my god, are they having Michael Richards play Jerry Lewis? And yes, they are. Like bad decisions across the board. This movie
I
is
don't
so
say Stanley
annoying.
Spadowski is entirely a Jerry Lewis. I would say he's just
He's Jerry Lewis.
He's a guy that loves his mop, man. And I don't know, you got to be such a.
Oh, but go watch
privileged
some old
person.
Jerry Lewis. You'll see that it's almost exact. It's him doing Jerry
All right,
Lewis.
we're gonna move in here. So we get introduces to George's and Bob's living quarters. George's making himself some hot dog Twinkies with cheese whiz, trying to feed Bob. Apparently, through this scene, which when he gets to check his time, the fist goes through the wall. But apparently, through this scene, Weird Al Yankovic had to eat 7 of these hot dog Twinkie things while filming this. And that, after doing that, made him a vegetarian. He stopped eating meat after this. But yeah, anyway, so he's talking to Bob, and Bob's pretty busted about the fact that they've lost yet another job among the many
Like, see
jobs
what
that they go through.
that still frame you have right there? That's not funny. Like, I feel like Weird Al is like a 4-year-old trying to appeal to 4-year-olds with his humor. Like, none of it. I don't get it. Like, that's what same that I get with Michael Richards's performance in this too. It's just like, who are you? Are you trying to make adults laugh with this movie? Because it's a huge failure. Now, I understand that you enjoyed it from a child, and that makes sense. As a kid, I probably would have liked this movie too. And same with Stay Tuned, wasn't as good as I remembered. It's better than this by
I'm
a
gonna,
lot
you
because
know,
it's got
I'm not
real
gonna lie,
actors, but
like
Stay Tuned wasn't as good as I remembered.
this is a dated film at its finest, but it's also such a like a beloved pop culture like egg of time and just
Is
hilarity
it?
that
Because no one really has ever mentioned this movie or anything about it to me in my entire life.
that is bullshit. You literally
It's
had
not bullshit.
Andre telling you about this movie on X rated and how much he
Only
loved
once I
this
told
film.
him we were
And he
covering it on this
quoted,
show.
yeah, and he's like, I love that
I'm
film,
just
and then he
saying,
proceeded to quote
unprompted,
it.
no one has ever quoted or mentioned this movie to me. Like, for my generation,
But
I'm a few years
that's
older
not a
than you.
fair
No one
argument.
cared about
Unprompted,
this.
nobody's gonna talk about anything to you. Like unprompted.
No, people mention movies to me all the time, or like
Well,
scenes
that's
from
fair,
movies, or
but
quote
like,
movies,
you
but like
can't
this isn't
just
one of them.
like what kind of fucking argument are you giving me right now? Can we move on?
It's not an argument. That was a response to what you said about how this was like this huge pop culture phenomenon. I'm telling you, maybe in your like little group at the time it was, but this was not as wide-reaching a pop culture phenomenon, I think, as you believe it to be.
Okay, listen,
Because
let's just put it this way. If you're watching this, if you happen to be watching this, please leave a comment wherever you're watching or listening to this and let Davin know if you've heard of or watched UHF and how much you may love or do not love this movie. Because I don't know what to tell this guy, but Anyway, in the calamity of figuring out what they're going to do for a job, once again, George, being the absent-minded person that he is, realizes that he is supposed to be at his girlfriend Terry's place. Terry being played
by
by the.
Victoria Jackson,
Thank you very much. Yes, to Victoria Jackson.
who became a
Uh,
crazy Trumper later in life.
did she really? I haven't like
Yeah.
followed her outside of this one and only film. She's just so
Oh,
like
she was on
innocently
Saturday Night
sweet.
Live for quite a while, quite a long time.
Oh, oh, okay. So yeah, we get this whole scene where she's basically figuring out George has no job yet again, and he's a daydreamer and he needs to get it serious. You get this scene where he's doing the whole potato mountain from First Contact, or not First
She
Contact.
also
Was it?
used to have a stand-up routine that she did while standing on her head. It was odd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to look into this. We then proceed to George being at his Uncle Harvey's place, where his Uncle Harvey and his aunt are having a party. Going about his way. He's talking to his aunt, and she's like, "Oh, it's a shame you get another job," and asks where Harvey is, and she's like, "I think he's having a meeting, but you're a good guy. You get this hilarious visual gag with the cheek pull."
Why is
Um,
that funny
it's not
if you're not 4 years old?
entirely. It's just a like such a weird
Like,
visual
it's just
scene.
very Weird Al, exactly. It's just weird. It's not
Yeah.
funny. It's annoying, but like
Why is it annoying?
I find because it's so juvenile, and even like the characters'
But this is a
voices, like
juvenile film,
I guess that's why I don't like it.
so that for makes it annoying. So okay,
No,
that's
it's the
fine.
characters' portrayals themselves that are annoying. The humor's juvenile. The characters' performances are incredibly stereotypical and annoying. Except for Victoria Jackson and Fran Drescher, they just play like normal people for the most part.
Hmm.
Like,
So we get introduced to Stanley Brock character Uncle Harvey, who's having a good old fashioned poker game with the boys, really raking it in. He's a very successful gambling man, where he gets called by Big Louie,
this is
who
the one story point I think was well written.
the
Which
one
was
brief
because
connecting story point for the setup and close.
well, just the fact that it's just such a useless, shitty TV network, like way, way, way down on the cable dial. that like the owner would just throw it on the table in a poker game. Like that
True.
that was kind of I like poker too. So like that worked for me, but then like it was all downhill from there. And then up a little bit. There's a point in this movie where it gets just ever so slightly better, but no. Like I had to, like yeah, I had to turn to Tiffany who I was watching it with and be like, "My god, this movie's annoying." And I believe she
What did
agreed.
she think of the film?
She I suspect her opinion is lower than mine. Again, annoying. It's just so annoying to listen to. It grates on the ears. It's like it was like it was a chore. I will say
It's
it was a
hilarious.
chore to watch for like physical reasons and like mental stimulation.
That's wild because I just was like, this is hilarious. I was just laughing along with pretty much every joke. You
No, it's
know,
like a really bad Hot Shots. Like it's trying to do sort of Hot Shots humor, but the writing is just not nearly that good.
it. Well, no, it's like a B movie Hot Shots.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like a not well done movie Hot
Just
Shots.
open your heart, Davin. Just open your
I
heart.
can't. I
Just
tried.
open your cold heart.
I expected it to be better. Like I expected it to be a better putting his foot forward from Weird Al, but it was just pure unadulterated
I
Weird
don't know
Al.
what you
And
expected from a movie where one of
more
the
of a
key
movie,
jokes is
I
Spatula
guess.
City.
And that's not funny.
Fuck you, that's not funny. Spatula City is a gem of a fucking joke.
It wasn't the worst joke in the movie, but I didn't laugh.
Anyway, Harvey comes out with his wad of money, and his wife figures out that he's been gambling, and he lets it be known to her that he just won a TV station. She gets the idea that George should take it, and she yells at George, who's, for some reason, feeding a spaniel some pooch, and then just whiffs the dog in the fruit punch. I don't. Even now, the scene makes me laugh every time. Oh shit. Anyway, so he's like, he gets the deal. He proceeds to take Terry late night to the station, and it's middle of the
Channel 62.
backwoods, UHF Channel 62 at its finest. They proceed to enter, but just before they enter, they get addressed by this kindly old gentleman who's just
This was the one
asking for
joke
some
that made me
change.
laugh. This was the only
Got any
joke that made
change,
me laugh.
mister? He's like,
Is,
yeah.
was
He's
this
like,
my video clip?
you know what? I think no, it wasn't your video clip. You
Did I
chose
actually like another scene?
you did. You chose a different scene. You said it was
Okay.
this one or the other one, and you decided to go with the other one.
We'll see what that is when we get there, I guess. But that was actually a funny joke. He asked him, he just wants change for his dollar.
He's the most he's the most subversive character because you're just like he's just another homeless guy looking for money. Oh no, he's actually just looking to change his bill, and then he disappears. And he's like, "Have a good day, Mister." And then he's off. You don't see him for a bit until he comes back to a key. So it's just some two key moments in this film, which are beautiful. So we get back to
He
George
plays
and the
that character
Explorer.
in a lot of things.
Yeah, it's great. The thing is, the homages they do to this film were so well done. I feel, in my opinion. Um, so George is exploring where he enters Philo's sort of production lab, producers slash mad scientist lab. You just sort of get through this, and Philo's doing his experiments and welcomes George, getting him to hold some power cables and electrocuting him for whatever benounced reason. Just another like hilarious visual gag. For some reason though, I don't know why, I remember this scene and there's like a flash of him just being a skeleton. Um, and I was watching it
It's
and
a
I
different
didn't see
movie.
it.
That's a different
Is that a
movie.
different? Is it
Yeah,
a
I know
different
what scene you're
movie?
talking about. Yeah.
Because it's referencing another movie, obviously.
Yeah. I know that skeleton scene you're talking about. He's just like ah, screaming and it turns into a might even be Hot Shots. It's something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, so we cut to the next morning where George is bringing Bob to the station. I love this little car that they have. This little like I don't know Datsun or something. I don't know what kind of vehicle it is, but it's so tiny. I want to see if I can get one in GTA 5. But yeah, they go to explore Channel 62. We get introduced to Fran Dresser's character. What was her name again?
Yeah, she's
Uh,
inconsequential. It doesn't matter.
Pamela Finkelstein, that's right. It was Pamela Finkelstein was Fran Dresser's character, where she proceeds, and she has a very important sort of setup line here, where she expresses her frustration that the station is getting, completely sold again, and she's got a new boss, and she just wants to be a news reporter. Where we get the the commercial of the car dealer being like, "I'll beat a seal to make a deal." But while they're watching that, they cut to the moment where they get a package for their competitor national station, the VHF station Channel 8, which is misdelivered to them. So George says he's decided to take the package over, where we get introduced to R.J. Fletcher, head of the station, played by Kevin McCarthy, brilliantly so, in my opinion. He's holding down this movie as the main antagonist with his absurd, just irrational hatred from number 2 B pencils and misplacing files, which he thinks that Michael Richards and Stanley Spadowski had stolen. So he proceeds to fire Stanley's character, or Stanley Spadowski, because he thinks the file stolen, only to discover that it was sitting in the chair he was sitting in all along.
These characters are too cartoony as well. Like, there's no it just seems like bad actors doing bad acting rather than characters you can like watch in a film and follow. Again, they should have just got actors.
They have that is such absurd. So George Newman's character proceeds to walk into Channel 8, where he yells, "Hey RJ!" in hilarious fashion, silencing the entire office, which R.J. Fletcher is like, "Who is this?" Proceeds to act like he can fire George, only to realize that, Newman brought some packaging over, and proceeds to kick him out for, trespassing and potentially stealing, even though it's not what George was doing. On the way out, George sees Stanley Spadowski, violently being evicted and having his mop stolen. And in the heartbreaking sort of pivotal scene that's supposed to make you feel for Michael Richardson's character, you can tell that, he's had this mop all his life, and he just wants to have his mop. That's all. He just wants to be a kind janitor, cleaning, the world, or, offices that he lives in or works in. So George feels bad for him, proceeds to take him around. It's fucking the head jerking joke. I love it so much. He's stressed out, but George is like, "I'll give you a job as, janitor." And Stanley's stoked. So we cut to the next scene, where we learn that, Fran Drescher's character is playing, or has get her upgrade as a news reporter. This leads to, the confrontation of the news teams on Channel 8, and ultimately my favorite scene I felt was the one scene that held up for me, and it was introduction of
Here's another thing. I find Emo Phillips incredibly annoying as well.
Hello, and welcome to Talent Talk. I'm George Newman, and today our
No,
special
Emo
guest
Phillips
is
is stand up.
local
I'm
actor
Emo
Joe
Phillips.
Worley.
Like, it's just
Joe,
everyone
thanks
trying
for
to be
joining us.
so
Thank you,
annoying.
home
Why is everyone so annoying
Oh, I
in
see
this?
you've brought some equipment with you today. Would you mind giving us a little demonstration?
Like, I was like, of course
also
Emo
the
Phillips is in
cameraman
this
here.
movie. I'm like, of course. It's like they made every bad decision possible. Of course Emo Phillips is in this movie.
The cameraman in this film, he also plays the uncle in House Party.
Piece of machinery
There's
like
an uncle in
this.
House Party.
Yeah, he's like the uncle
Table
of that
saw.
one girl who like lives in the house full of like people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Second female lead. Yeah, the scene where it's like the table saw, and he's like gives him the look, like I cracks up.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the world universally agreed by like 1996 that Emo Phillips wasn't funny. And that's why you haven't heard about him since then.
Will you look at
Oh, he's still doing
that?
stand up these days.
Just call me Mr. Butterfingers. I think it's on the floor somewhere.
So good. It's so good.
Is my face red?
I think you got your nostalgia glasses on, Murphy. None of this stuff is good.
I disagree, sir. That is prime.
I can't believe Emo
visual
Phillips
and
was your pick.
gags. Dude,
God, I
yeah, no,
hated
that's
that
one of
scene.
the like early scenes that like get me just busting laughing. Emo Phillips like rules at that. And then it also leads into fucking Spatula City. Spatula City, come on, kids, let's go down to Spatula City. Do you know where you need to get your spatulas? Down at Spatula City. And it's one of the all-time greatest. Like, I remember this joke clear as day. You know, the perfect Christmas gift is a spatula, or the way I say I love you with a spatula from Spatula City. Like, it's just so fucking ridiculous.
That was okay. That was an okay gag.
And then we get dropped into Uncle Nutsy's Funhouse, where we introduced to Weird Al's attempt to be a child actor or child entertainment.
Yeah, but like,
actor.
there's no difference between that and how Weird Al acts all the rest of the time. So like, that's what I mean, where he's just like feels like a guy who he's not funny. I don't think Weird Al's funny.
I don't think you truly have actually examined Weird Al and his work and just general artistic behavior and stuff. Like, I feel like you don't quite get it, and
maybe I don't.
Kind of being contentious for it. That
perhaps this type of humor goes over my head, but I suspect it goes under my chin.
It's fair. The introducing where he asks the kid and he just spits in his face. So spot on. There's a scene here where Bob comes out dressed as a clown and he whacks him in the face with this pan. Apparently, he actually like clipped him and split his lip, and they decided to end up using that take, even though it's like a rubber pan.
And a split lip there? You can't see a split lip there, can you?
You can.
Oh, he's got red makeup on. Yeah.
He's got red makeup, but if you look carefully,
yeah, a little bit there.
Just a little one on the bottom lip there.
Yeah.
You know.
He doesn't look
Bob
happy.
and George. Bob and George are making an attempt to run the station. They're figuring out that it is basically going bankrupt, and they're only airing reruns of old shows. So they're attempting to attract more viewers by creating new shows of their own. In this sketch, he's supposed to be feeding butter cookies to Bob, but he ends up feeding Yappy's dog treats with real beef flavor and just a hint of cheese. As Bob
That's not funny. That's just kind of mean and stupid. Like, again, these are 4-year-old jokes. Like, it's so annoying.
We then get a cut. We then proceed to move on to the guns don't kill people, I do commercial intro, where it's interrupted with a special bulletin, and George's character is using his broadcasting powers to announce to his girlfriend Terry that he'd like to take her and her parents out for dinner, which is one of the catalyst and pivotal moment scenes. We then led to a Plots RS commercial for mortuaries, where they have big parking lots, and don't forget the all-you-can-eat buffet salad, which is, leads to a scene where George is doing, basically the taxes, doing the paperwork, and arguably, I will agree with you here, this is the one scene in the movie I dislike the most, which is the Beverly Hills Billy music scene.
Beverly Hillbillies are actually funnier than Weird Al, though.
It's, debatable. Anyway, it's funny that when I first saw this movie, I was really surprised to see this music video in the movie, because I was like, I've seen the music video, and I was like, surely they'll just play a brief moment of it. And yeah, surely they'll just play like a brief moment, but they end up, fucking doing the entire music video. So yeah, I agree. This is probably the worst.
Like, they dropped
the whole film.
Like, if you were following this as a movie, which I don't know how you do, that completely interrupts it and just throws a Weird Al music video in there, and it wasn't a good song. It's like, it was annoying. Everything's so friggin' annoying.
Sorry, I got a cat on my lap.
Hey, kitty, that's a good thing.
George ends up, freaking out, proceeds to realize that, he's late for his dinner date, and he's heartbroken. Comes out to the stage and just says, fuck it, tell Stanley to take over the show. And that's when the movie starts to kick off. And this is where we're introduced to your favorite scene.
Because, okay. I know why I picked this. It's not that I super enjoyed the scene or anything, but like, he's just doing Jerry Lewis. I don't like it.
Cartoon, wasn't it? You know, that cartoon, it reminds me of a dream I had last week. And I
guess
turned
so.
into
I
a
don't know
bird
Jerry
with
Lewis
a
the well.
candy bar head. And then there was these other birds, you know, they're all trying to eat my head.
Apparently,
But I got away
he
from
just
them.
did this
And
role
then there was
like a
this tree,
few
you know,
months
there was this weird
before he
lizard,
started
you know.
doing Seinfeld. So he wasn't quite known for Seinfeld yet. This was like his sort of introduction.
I want to show you something. I want to show you something.
See, I'm not enjoying this scene. I just picked it because it was the point in when like the movie started to feel a little more like a movie. But
This is my new mop. George, my friend, he gave me this mop.
So yeah, George and Bob are drowning.
It's not as good as my first mop. I miss my first mop. But this is still a good mop. Sometimes you just have to take what life gives you. 'Cause
like
life
this,
is life's
that's
mop.
what he's saying there
Sometimes
is like
life
the
gets
only
full of
bit of
dirt,
heart in this
crud,
entire movie. Like,
bugs and hairballs and stuff. You gotta clean it out. You gotta put it in here and rinse it off and start all over again. And sometimes life sticks to the floor so bad. You know, a mop is not good enough. It's not good enough. You gotta get down there like with a toothbrush.
yeah, okay,
you know?
this is
You
probably
gotta-
the best
you
scene
gotta
in the movie.
Scrub. You gotta get it off. You gotta really try
You know what?
to
A
get it off.
toothbrush
But
is
if that
great
doesn't
for
work,
cleaning.
if that doesn't work, you can't give
Mhm.
up. You gotta stand right up. You gotta run to a window and say, "Hey, these floors are dirty as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore."
That's the other reason I picked that scene. That's actually, now that I've seen it, that is the main reason I picked that scene. Is because that's taken us back to a scene I actually did enjoy in Network. I was mad as hell that I'm not gonna take it anymore. So yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a
And
great
a
scene.
brief 30 seconds, I didn't hate this movie, and then I go back to despising it again.
So yeah, after George and Bob, you know, they realize that they're drowning the stores at the bar. They see Stanley's being a hit on the show. They run back and they're like, "Did you like doing the show, Stanley?" "Well, yeah, George. That's great. Did you want to keep doing the show?" "Well, yeah, George. Do I have to stop being a janitor?" And he's like, "No, you can still be a janitor." He's like, "Okay, yeah, then I'll keep doing the show." So
that was also the scene that showed that Michael Richards is the only actor in this movie.
He definitely acts his ass off in this film. He's 100% like busting his.
Well, when he's not doing the Jerry Lewis impression, that's not acting. Anyone can get up and do a stupid Jerry Lewis impression. I would, but it's offensive, so I won't.
So George and Bob decide to start making some new shows, and George is like, "Oh, I've got a few." Bob gives him a look. That's where we get started introduced to the monotony of shows like Wheel of Fish, which is introduced by what's his character?
Eddie Watanabe.
Eddie
I don't know what his
Watanabe.
character's name.
So yeah, Eddie Watanabe. Which was his character's name? Anyway, he spins a wheel of fish where the lady's about to win a red snapper, and she asks for a box which is empty, and he calls her stupid. We get led to the Secrets of the Universe with Philo again, and then ultimately this would have been my other pick for a favorite scene, which was Raoul's Wild Kingdom, where he's just like showing off all of his animals and turtles, and these guys are bewildered. They're just absolutely bewildered. They're like, "Did you hire this guy?" He's like, "No, I thought you hired this guy."
The one thing I'll say that this movie, of course, did not do at all on purpose, but has kind of rung true in the world, is like he's just setting up a bunch of podcasts on his network, essentially. Like that's
why I
just
was hoping
dude's
you'd really like would gel with the show, just because George is like, "I got a new show," and I'm like, "This is Davan."
I know, right? Like it's just, if it wasn't so absolutely annoying the entire time. This was a painful movie for me to watch. I won't, like, easily the worst comedy we've featured on this show, in my opinion. We haven't featured a lot of comedies.
So Raoul is throwing puppies out the window because he thinks he can make poodles fly. He's got a pile of them at the base of his apartment, which is one of the other visual gags. So not so fun fact, but one that is kind of sad is this character. I'm hating myself for not having his name
Raoul?
on the fly.
Raoul?
Trinidad Silva. That's right, Trinidad Silva.
Oh, that's his actor's name.
Yeah, this actor, he actually died during the filming of this movie. He got into a car accident and passed away. So he was supposed to
shit.
be in the final scene of the film. Where everyone's like reconciling and the show's doing great, but yeah, he just didn't get to make it. So the film's actually dedicated to him.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we go from puppies flying to Terry, getting on the phone, George giving her a call, and RJ, pretty much ignoring the fact that this UHF channel is rising, and he tells his employee to take that ridiculous thing off. You think he means the hat, but he takes off the mustache. Again, another out of the left field sort of joke.
That one was okay as well.
We're then introduced to Stanley Spadowski's clubhouse, which is filled and packed to the brim and showing that, UHF is kicking off. We get the blue marble and the oatmeal gag joke, where Billy found the blue marble in the oatmeal. Why? Don't know, but it's to drink from the fire hose. Why? Again, don't know. It's just it's just like acid dream chaos entertainment. But, it's hilarious. In my opinion, every scene. We also get to the next joke, which is Raoul is getting a new shipment of animals for his next episode, where he's introduced there. He's told he's got a shipment of badgers, and Raoul's like, badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers. Like another quotable joke in my opinion. But yeah, the film's progressing. We're getting introduced to one of the other classic jokes, which is Conan the Librarian, where he's asked where to find a thing, and he picks up and he's, "Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System?" And he hacks another student in half for being late with books. It's Conan the Librarian tonight at 7:30. Just one of the many shows at UHF, including Wonderful World of Phlegm, Name That Stain, The Young and the Dyslexic, Leave It to Bigfoot, Secrets of the Universe, and news every Friday nights. So while doing the fall scheduling, Bob's going through the paperwork to realize that they're actually number one in ratings in their area, and they lose their shit. And they've upgraded Channel 62, where they've got shows like Stay Fit, Bowling for Burgers with Chef Bernie, and Strip Solitaire, Practical Jokes and Bloopers, and Celebrity Mud Wrestling with Gorbachev, which is Channel 62, be there. Things are going downhill. RJ Fletcher wants to know who owns the studio, which we get to cut back to Harry, who's chilling in the pool, but he gets a call from Big Louie, who lets him know that he's down 70,000 G's on the last horses. Harry proceeds to, say he needs some time. Big Louie gives him until Friday. And that's, introducing RJ Fletcher, who's thinking he's bought the station. And he's going to turn it into a parking lot. So before Harry heads back to make the deal, George finds out, and he asks for one final, chance. Just give me a chance. Let me buy the station. Any chance we can do. Philo decides to keep an eye on RJ Fletcher, install some security cameras, and, Harry Bilchick proceeds to, when they make the deal. Then we get down to another, which is probably one of the last scenes I would have loved to have used, which is Town Talk with George, which is basically at the time Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer, yes, and those like reality TV shows were huge. So this is like a huge spoof on all that. George being dejected, Stanley gives him the idea that they should do a fundraiser.
I don't even think Jerry Springer was around in '89. It was probably more like spoofing Phil Donahue.
Was it
like Sally Jesse
Donahue
Raphael,
or that guy with the mustache? What was his name? Or did he? I suppose he was more of a journalist. He didn't really do TV shows like that, did he? Maybe you're talking about Phil Donahue, but I'm thinking of somebody else potentially.
No, Phil Donahue was just an older guy with no mustache.
Okay, there was a journalist that was like semi-popular back in the '90s with a big mustache.
Oh, you're talking about Geraldo Rivera.
Yes, Geraldo Rivera. Yes. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, he did this sort of stuff too.
Yes, didn't he have a show like Springer or something like that? Anyway, more Povich style reality like shows. Anyway, so they're doing their
You
telethon.
are not the father, Murphy.
You are not the father. Well, thankfully, I'm not the father of anybody, so Stanley's doing the hosting, but he's getting a small break here. George is, I gotta go do this thing where Stanley just gets kidnapped because he thinks there's pizza at the door. He's just gullible, and he proceeds to ignore his captors. This is one of the jokes where I was just like, "What the fuck is happening?" The guys are just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." like,
I don't get it. I don't get any of this. I don't get why it's funny. I just don't get it. It's just weird for the sake of weird. It's Weird Al personified.
It's weird, but I think it's also showing the fact that they don't have like their main star Stanley, so they're struggling to have content on TV because they just don't have this like enigmatic content machine like many, excellent production places like United Federation has within Davan, we just don't have this content monsters. So without the content monsters, he's just drying up. Fucking drinking a whole cup of coffee. So he's telling the people to cut to commercial. We get cut to probably one of the last like big.
Are you trying to suggest I'm a recovering podcast addict? Is that what you're trying to say? Or maybe not even recovering, that I'm just full addiction. I'm a junkie. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe a slight addiction. Anyway, yeah. So we've got the Gandhi 2, movie trailer, which shows Gandhi as a badass action hero. I can't remember if this is played by Weird Al or not. I feel like it is Weird Al.
It's not Weird Al. He's like a foot too short.
That's why I was like, I don't think this is Weird Al. I always, for some reason, I always remember being a kid and thinking this was just Weird Al doing his things like he did in the previous sketches with
Definitely
Indiana
not.
Jones and shit like that, right? So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we then cut from that one commercial to RJ Fletcher being once again introduced to our loving cash wielding hobo looking for a bit of change. RJ,
this time he did want money because he saw the rich guy.
Money.
He's just like, that rich guy got money.
And RJ Fletcher ultimately gives him a penny, and our hobo guy loses his shit. He is just like, wow, thanks, mister. That's really kind of you. And RJ's like, whatever. Gets out of the way. Terry, proceeds to, confront him, and he gives him a piece of mind about how much his town sucks. Stanley, being caught, eventually breaks free, getting a hold of his mop, and proceeds into a chase where we're then introduced to Philo and Weird Al, discovering where Stanley is. Like, they couldn't figure it out, but we then get to the scene where he runs in a parking lot, and then it cuts to him being in a Rambo dream experience where it's just like silly, fucking goofy scene after scene of just like the most ridiculous. The funny thing is, I remember this more than I remember Rambo. Like, I remember the scene.
Oh, Rambo might have been a bit before your time there, Murphy.
It might have been just a touch more. The scene where he guns them all down.
I wasn't big into Rambo either. I remember the Rambo NES game more than I remember the movie Rambo.
I kind of remember that NES game a bit too. Such a fun side scroller. Catches the bullet, spits it out. Dream sequence. They're in a chopper, blows it up. He thinks he's coming in to be their worst nightmare, only to get a gun pointed to his head, and just.
Weird Al's the kind of guy that thinks making a funny face is funny, even though that works on 2-year-old babies. I make a funny face for my 2-year-old baby, not for adults. That's how you make a 2-year-old laugh. I do it all the time.
Again, this is
but like in another couple years, she's not even gonna find that funny. Maybe even in a year. Like babies grow out of this. I
disagree. I think your daughter is not only gonna watch this movie and enjoy it, she's gonna learn to love it, and it'll be one of her all-time favorite films. Just despite.
There's no way that would ever happen. She has taste.
Time will tell, and in 10 years, I'll ask her what one of her favorite films is, and if she says UHF, you owe me a beer.
She's even seen it. I'll buy you a beer.
So yeah, these guys are about to, meet their comeuppance until they go to the supplies store, and we get to this joke. Supplies!
Such a stereotype, man. This is so offensive. There have been movies we featured on this podcast that you've agreed with me are offensive, and this is way more offensive than those movies. Like, this is way more
who's
offensive than The
offended,
Apartment.
though?
Oh, I
Who's
bet you can
offended?
find people that are offended by all these stereotypical friggin' portrayals. This is bad stuff, man.
I mean, I'm
You
not
would
going to
never see.
disagree that this is aged and wouldn't fly through now, but I'm
It has
definitely
not
going to
aged
argue
well. It
that
does not hold up.
this
It
supplies
has
joke
aged
is funny.
horribly.
That is funny as fuck, and I will argue that till I'm dead. Supplies is fucking hilarious. All right,
Offensive. That's so
how
offensive.
is it offensive? How is it offensive? How is it offensive? How is them saying supplies? They could have said surprise, but they said supplies instead.
Because
they're
that's
in a
what
supplies closet.
Because
Because
that's
what?
an Asian stereotype, man. You don't say that anymore. Replacing an R with an L is like, you don't do that. That's not funny. That's offensive.
I think it's a funny joke.
It is.
It makes me laugh.
It is. No, it's very offensive. So is the Jerry Lewis stuff. Don't like it. It does not hold up. By the mid 90s, this was already offensive.
Well,
So
to be fair,
really
this
hasn't
wasn't
held
much
up
of a
to
box
now.
office hit.
No.
So the show, it looks like they're not going to meet their feelings. RJ Fletcher's gloating, and then he gets the video feed of him rallying off the community. The clock's ticking. Harry's about to sell it to RJ. He's like, "Give me the money, I'll sell it to you right now." But RJ wants to gloat, and in that time, Big Louie drives up. While RJ is gloating, our beloved sweet change wielding hobo comes by with a stack of $2,000, buys the rest of the stock, saves the day, gives the money, and they get the contract to the
Yeah, it
station.
was like, what wasn't it? Like an old ass penny or something like that? That was
Yeah,
worth
it
money
was
or
a
some shit like that.
1972 something penny that was worth like so many thousands of dollars. It even was enough. So RJ gets his station taken away from him by basically like the rate, like the commission, the Standards and Communication Commission. Then interviewed on news about it, and just before that, after that, he gets met up with a hobo guy who's like, "I got a Rolex," but yeah, we also get to find out that Philo is going home, and he turns into an alien and then absolutely dips.
Is that the end?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the end.
Okay. Good God. It was even painful a second time, and I didn't have to hear their goddamn voices. All right, let's look. I know you love this movie, but let's which performance would you hold up?
I would say Michael Richardson's performance holds up the most for me. It's
Offensive.
It's the one that has like he's the one the most energy. He's the one that sort of like is sort of carrying the film. Weird Al's good, and he does a good fine performance, but he plays it mostly like himself for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Richards too, but like again, I found most of it offensive, but there's that one brief moment where he makes the best scene in the movie. But yeah. The setting aesthetic, hard to look at. I mean, it was a B movie, so it was like there's that, but I found it annoying to look at. All the clothes Weird Al would wear would annoy me. Like, it's not
The
funny. It's not
1980s clothes.
funny.
It's a
No,
dated
his weren't
film.
1980s clothes. There would just be like a shirt with as many colors as possible on
I
it, so
mean,
that when
yeah,
you look at it, you just
that's
like,
that's what he's known for. The fucking wild,
I
wacky
know.
Hawaiian shirts.
And like, that music video part didn't look good, and neither did that I guess computer generated bit. I guess that was the music scene, wasn't it? But
Yeah,
yeah,
the
that didn't
music
look good.
video was the worst part for sure. Yeah.
Clearly a B movie, I'll say, for the setting and aesthetic. But, the lab. I liked Buddy's like beakers everywhere. I always like a beaker filled lab. You give me a set like
His is
that, I'm
such an
down.
iconic beaker-filled lab. Philo's lab is so. When I
It's
think of like
it's a good beaker
scientifically
lab.
labs, I always think of that lab.
That's the best set in the movie.
Yes, it's definitely the one that they put the most like production in, and then they just sort of recycle.
All right. Well, this was what a friggin' long 50 minutes talking about this movie, so I hope the morsels are quick.
Yes, I make sure to keep the morsels quick and brief.
All right, let's fire up some movie morsels with Murphy then.
Yes. So, movie morsels with UHF. Weird Al Yankovic wanted to call the movie the Vidiot. He didn't think UHF would make much sense in a world slowly gravitating toward cable television, and the UHF designation is not widely known outside North America. For the U.S. market, Orion insisted on UHF.
I think they should have called it Vidiot.
In most
it
foreign
matches
markets,
the film better.
In most foreign markets, it was called the Vidiot from UHF. In the DVD commentary, Weird Al says that in interviews on foreign television shows, when asked why he picked that title, he felt like replying, "I didn't. The studio did. I hate that title." In Mexico, it was released as Los Telelocos, which translates as the TV Crazies. Real fish were attached to the wheel of fish. They were brought on. They were bought at a local fish market early one morning. The set designer began attaching them to the wheel around 6 a.m., making sure the wheel spun smoothly.
It's a waste of fish life, and I find that offensive as well.
Yeah,
everything in this movie is offensive.
It's a lot of wasted fish for sure. Filming started at 4:30 p.m. on a hot summer day in a building that wasn't air conditioned, filled with hot studio lights and over 100 extras. The DVD commentary, Weird Al Yankovic described the filming conditions as ripe. That, could you imagine that kind of smell? I don't think I could do it. During the first Uncle Nutsy's clubhouse scene, Uncle Nutsy tells Bobby the Clown to look up down, and then at Mr. Frying Pan, and that's what David Bowie splits his lip. Weird Al Yankovic offered Crispin Glover the role of Dr. Philo, according to WeirdAl.com. Glover only wanted to play the role of Crazy Eddie, the car salesman who says, "I'll have a club seal to make a better deal." Neither Weird Al nor Jay Levy thought that Glover was right for the role, so they passed. Which is like Crispin Glover as the seal deal commercial guy is just like, really? Why would he want that role?
He just didn't want to be in this movie, which is good. Smart on Crispin Glover.
In addition to the program shown on Channel 62, the station's Friday lineup on the wallboard includes Bestiality Today, Beat the Loan Shark, The Beverly Hillbillies, Buddha Knows Best, Dog Racing from Rio de Janeiro, Druids on Parade, Eye of Toxic Waste, Fun with Dirt, Leave It to Bigfoot, Mr. Ed, My Three Mutants, Name That Stain, News, Raoul's Wild Kingdom, Stanley Spadowski's Clubhouse, That's Disgusting, The Flying Pope, The Lice is Right, The Young and the Dyslexic, Town Talk, Traffic Court, Secrets of the Universe, Underwater, Bingo for Teens, Volcano Worshippers Hour, Wheel of Fish, Wide World of Tractor Pulls, Wonderful World of Phlegm, and You Bet Your Pink Slip. Programs shown but not on the lineup include Bowling for Burgers and Strip Salter. Released about 2 weeks before the pilot of Seinfeld, where Michael Richards was introduced as the character Kramer. And according to Weird Al Yankovic, G.W. Bailey and Art Metroni auditioned and were seriously considered for the role of R.J. Fletcher. Cinematography by David Lewis, edited by Dennis M. O'Connor. Music by John Dupree's. Release date of July 21st, 1989, with 97 minutes, a budget of $5 million, and a box office of $6.1 million. That's UHF.
Can't believe that made millions, even if it's only 6.
Can you hear that beeping?
Beep. Beep. Beep.
I think one of my neighbors smoke alarms going off.
Rewatchability, God no.
Considering I've rewatched this movie probably once a year, yeah.
I can't believe you waste your time like that. I can't believe that you don't find these things offensive. If they were in any other movie, you would. I think you're being dishonest to yourself here, Murphy. Does it hold up? No, it's offensive. It like the very question we ask ourselves on this show is, does it hold up to viewing today? And no, because it's like it insults so many people in the world. Like it's an offensive movie. It insults Asian people. It insults, um, developmentally challenged people. It's just, oh, it's just bad and offensive.
I don't think it offends those type of people in the way you think it offends them. I
Me,
mean, I could be wrong. I don't think I've ever heard anyone in the world be like, UHF has offended me in my core as a person.
because no
You
one's
know,
seen it.
that's true. Many people have seen it. I mean, you think nobody's seen it because you haven't seen it, which is,
You just said it was a
you're wrong.
bomb, a box office bomb. So clearly nobody went to see it.
Well, no, in 1989, but when it became a DVD hit, it became a cult classic. In 92, when it was finally released on DVD, it had many DVD sales. It was, you know what, that was going to be one of the movie morsels I was going to write down, but I decided to skip it for brevity and
Good.
the fact that it might have been too boring a fact. But you know what? It actually was
It is
very
boring.
popular with DVD sales and has become a cult classic.
A lot of crappy movies have become cult classics. Um, but no, it doesn't hold up for me, and it's too
It
offensive.
certainly holds up for me. It certainly holds up for
Wow,
me. And
wow.
I don't think the movie is as offensive as you want
It's
it to be.
it's the most annoying movie I've ever sat through. Like,
Yeah,
I've never
yeah,
sat
you
there and
made us watch The Tingler.
there's something annoying about the Tingler. You just didn't find it particularly interesting.
Yeah, but I enjoyed my time watching UHF and enjoyed my time watching UHF more than I ever had watching The Tingler.
It's very wrong about that. But anyway, moving on to Theater 2.